Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties, education, and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
A UN High Commissioner on Human Rights ultimately said that homosexual rights trump religious freedom and conscience, causing delegates at the United Nations in Geneva to walk out in protest. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. Matt, this is a situation where the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Navi, Pillay, said that homosexual rights should trump freedom of religion, conscience, and democratic principles. As a result of this discussion, delegates decided they've had enough of this kind of discussion, and they walked out and staged a protest at the UN headquarters in Geneva just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, the United Nations really has become a flashpoint for this clash of worldviews that we are seeing occur here around the world, not just worldviews, but systems of values. The progressive agenda seeks to undermine all traditional notions of morality and behavior, and whereas the traditional views, every major world religion, thousands of years of history and uncompromising human biology have held certainly that aberrant sexual behaviors like homosexual conduct, considered a sin certainly in Christianity, that not only does God call those behaviors an abomination, but that somehow this notion that we would elevate those sexually deviant behaviors to a status where they are deserving of special protections, individuals engaging in those behaviors, special rights and considerations over the freedoms and liberties and rights of those who have thousands of years of tradition behind them. We see it playing out in the United Nations, just as we see it playing out here in the United States. Feldblum, President Obama's EEOC commissioner that he appointed as in a recess appointment, a radical lesbian activist, at least she has been candid enough to admit that it's a, quote, zero-sum game. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. Yeah, absolutely she does.
The zero-sum game means that there's not a compromise.
No
There's
compromise.
A winner and there's a loser, and who wins in that case with regards to EEOC things, with regards to housing, public accommodation, employment, is homosexual rights, not religious freedom. Even though we've got a specific constitutional provision that protects religious freedom, no, homosexual rights, in her view, ultimately trump religious freedom. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing that's happening both here in America with some of these appointments in this administration at the EEOC and others, as well as the UN. What happened was last summer, the Human Rights Commission in Geneva agreed to prepare a report on violence against homosexuals. Even that started a uproar. They wanted to go through a study, and a report was complete on March the 7th of 2012. And then the Human Rights Council hosted a panel discussion called Ending Violence and Discrimination Based on Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity. The UN delegates from 57 countries in Africa, Asia, and Middle East were there. They walked out during this discussion when it talked about the fact that human rights, or in the area of rights of homosexuality, trump religious freedom. And what ultimately took place is that they said that they need to develop a reporting system. They said that it was a historic moment in the history of the UN, and that they ought to decriminalize consensual same-sex relationships, ban discrimination, and educate the public, and create a reporting system. This is an international reporting system. Mm-hmm. Of course, this is all being funded and supported by the United States as well. Our Secretary of State, Hillary Rodham Clinton, has issued a press release, both on abortion and on homosexuality, in which she has threatened to withhold federal funding of these countries that we fund around the world unless they liberalize their homosexual laws and liberalize their abortion laws. So this administration is becoming very radically pro-abortion, very radically pro-homosexuality. And so what we're seeing here is a manifestation of policies that are in this country as well.
And lest any of our detractors, which I know they will, attempt to say that we are advocating violence against people who engage in these aberrant sexual behaviors. That is, of course, not the case. Nobody I know favors, of course, violence. We all are opposed to violence against any individual for anything, but that's not what's happening here. What's happening is they're using the specter of some kind of notion of mass violence committed against homosexuals. They do the same thing here in the United States, mass discrimination, something where there's no evidence, of course, against people engaged in these behaviors. They use that as a Trojan horse to force, to compel nations and individuals and groups and churches that embrace traditional values relative to sexual behavior to push them into the closet and say, no, you have to adopt a full affirmation of these perversions.
And not only affirm, it is not, I mean, the rhetoric starts off of coexistence and tolerance, and then it moves to affirmation, so that you not only just agree to disagree, so to speak, or live together, although you disagree, but that you not only do that, now you move to affirmation. So you affirm it, and you not only you agree, but you think that it is a laudable situation. And then you criminalize anything to the contrary, so that if you have any moral views that say homosexuality is wrong or immoral, or that your beliefs are based upon the Bible or your religious convictions, then homosexuality trumps. I mean, this is just absolute absurdity. And what we're seeing is it's happening both in the United Nations that ultimately sparked this protest and walkout. It's happening in this administration as well. We know, for example, one of our professors went to the Philippines, and there UNESCO is trying to use its federal and UN funding to ultimately liberalize abortion in that country. So whether it's abortion or homosexuality, it's all being pushed around the world as well as in this country.
I call it sexual anarchy. This is the sexual anarchy movement. No lines of demarcation between right and wrong. Anything goes, whether it's the abortionists, those trying to push comprehensive so-called sex education, the homosexual activists, and so forth. Well, one individual there, Saeed Sarwar, a delegate for Pakistan, he said that he hopes this is, quote, after the walkout, the last of its kind in the Human Rights Council of this kind of push of radicalism. He said this. He challenged the assertions of the High Commissioner and said that, quote, licentious behavior promoted under the concept of, quote, sexual orientation is against the fundamental teachings of various religions, including Islam, and that the UN General Assembly has recognized the need to account for a national, regional, cultural, religious, and historical differences when speaking of human rights. So really what the United Nations was doing here was trampling the rights of Christian nations and those who embrace traditional sexual morality, and saying our newfangled notion of so-called gay rights trumps all of that.
He also said that he cautioned that studies had shown that homosexual behavior had negative health implications.
Irrefutable.
And he highlighted the need to strengthen the family. Well, all you have to do is go to our Center for Disease Control and look at the studies there. And that's an independent entity. It's not an advocacy organization for pro-family values by any means at all.
Liberal leaning, yes.
And you can find out just within the last few years.
1 out of 5
that come out that say how deleterious it is from a health perspective.
1 out of 5 in cities around the country in the United States, men who engage in sexual behavior have HIV/AIDS. 40% of them don't even know it. This is a oftentimes deadly, aberrant lifestyle.
Yeah, and then to elevate it to not only affirmation, but to also say that trumps anything to the contrary, freedom of conscience. That's what we're seeing here in America with the clash here between homosexual rights and religious freedom. We're going to be talking about some of those issues as we move forward because of certain things that have recently happened in the United States. But this is a clash of cultures. It's a clash of worldviews. And it is a clash that whether you like it or not, you're going to have to learn about it and take action. Otherwise, your freedom of conscience or your freedom of religion will ultimately be suffering from that. We see that there are people who simply want to override your conscience and your freedom of religion to force you to affirm something that you do not believe, and that is also supported by your religious values. Give us a call at Liberty Counsel, 1-800-671-1776. You can ask for the book called Resurgent, How Constitutional Conservatism Can Save America. It's by Ken Blackwell and Ken Klukowski. You can order it at our Liberty Counsel website, lc.org. We also have other resources there available as well. And you can also sign up for the Awakening 2012. That's in Orlando, Florida, April 20, Friday night, and 21 on Saturday. Over 60 national religious and political speakers are confirmed for that event. Go to lc.org and sign up right now for the Awakening 2012 in Orlando, Florida.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.